It's war again. Let's talk about it on the weekly update.
Okay, friends, let's talk about rumbles in Iran. Here's what you need to know. First up, Iran becomes a geopolitical flashpoint and markets wobble. So first up, let's take a look at the market, same way we've always been looking at it. Here's the S&P 500 in red. Orange is the 50-day moving average. Purple is the 200-day moving average. And what do you notice? Well, that consolidation period continues, although now we have been spending some time below our 50-day moving average. What I can tell you from a technical standpoint is if the 50-day moving average is going to be support, you want to bounce off it like a trampoline. What's happening is we continue to bounce off it with less and less rebound, and now we're spending some time below our 50-day moving average. So what does that mean? To my eyes, that tells me that we want to release on the 50-day moving average, and we want to give it up. We're probably going to come down to our 200-day moving average. The good news is, the 200-day moving average moved up 2 points from last week to this week, and it's going to keep going at that pace for a little while. So if it takes 2, 3, 4 weeks for us to touch the 200-day moving average, we're going to meet it somewhere in this 660, 665 area, which isn't that bad for a correction. And again, the 200-day moving average is more strong support than the 50-day. So I would expect our first bounce attempt would at least occur at that time. So market still looks like it's in consolidation here, and I believe that we have a test in the 200-day, ahead of us. And one of the reasons why the market is trading so heavy is we have war. I mean, I guess technically it's not called a war, but it's a war. Operation Epic Fury was launched in Iran. I believe, we're in the adverse information environment, so we don't have the full story just yet. But it seems as though this was a joint U.S. and Israeli strike. Israel was handling the decapitation strike of the, Iranian government, the Ayatollah, and just about everybody else in the government. And the U.S. was working on interdicting, the regime's assets and military capabilities. That was done. However, since then, we've sort of stirred up a hornet's nest, and since then there's been ballistic missiles raining down on Iran. There have been numerous U.S. bases and U.S. Consulates struck. I think 12 nations in the Middle East have been hit with missiles from Iran. And most important of all, the Strait of Hormuz has been closed. And as of right now, the Strait of Hormuz has been closed for about 4 days. So what you're looking at here, this is live shipping traffic. This is what I look at every single morning. This is the only thing that I care about. This is the most important thing that we can talk about. The Strait of Hormuz is the critical location. That will tell us everything we need to know about how this military operation is going and what the impacts of it are going to be. So what you see here, this is the Strait of Hormuz. Red are oil tankers, and you'll notice there's a pileup of oil tankers here, and there's a pileup of oil tankers there, and the only way that occurs is if traffic is not transiting the strait. The Strait of Hormuz, something like traffic is down 92% from where it was prior to Operation Epic Fury. Now, this was expected, anticipated. If you're going to hit Iran, if you're going to do regime change, the very first thing that they're going to do is close the Strait of Hormuz. So what does that mean? Well, it means that 20% of the world's oil transits this strait. So that is turned off for right now. 20% of the world's LNG. Something like 35% of fertilizer feedstocks. There's a lot of really important stuff that transits the Strait of Hormuz that is not moving right now. Now, in response to this, Donald Trump has fielded some interesting ideas for how to unblock the Strait of Hormuz. I don't know that any of those are real workable solutions as of this point in time. What this looks like a lot to me, this looks like Prosperity Guardian. And so if you remember from our geopolitical 30-minute video that we did earlier, I said, these naval shutdowns are really tough to interdict. And we've tried to interdict them by bombing the adversary into compliance. And that didn't work. It didn't work in the Suez Canal. And now we have it in a much more important, critical to the world location as the Strait of Hormuz. So here's the deal. We need to get traffic flowing through the Strait of Hormuz. I believe what the U.S. is going to do is do an absolutely epic biblical level bombing campaign, potentially later this week, over the weekend, to attempt to pound the regime into submission. Whether that is successful or not will determine everything. Meanwhile, while we wait, the strait can be closed for maybe 5 to 10 days, and the world can sort of, deal with that. That will basically be like as if these ships just got delayed at port for some reason. Once you get beyond that, from about 10 days to 4 to 5 weeks, you enter into the global inventories of oil will be, reduced or, consumed to keep everything going. And then if you get beyond that level, you will enter into an exponential phase where the oil markets will adjust to, basically 1/5 of the world's supply being turned off. So in geopolitical events, we've talked about them before, and I've said, look, I really don't care about, who's running Iran, what's happening to their military. That stuff really doesn't matter too much to me. What I care about is what happens to the money, what happens to business. That is the stuff that impacts the stock market. And this is a disaster waiting to happen. So we're going to find out, when I talked about Prosperity Guardian, when I said, hey, we're blocked from the Suez Canal and, we went out there and we were sort of defeated. We did not accomplish the mission. We just retreated because we were taking so much missile fire and drone fire. One of the criticisms of that analysis is, the thought that, we really could have opened the Suez Canal if we really wanted to. If we just bombed them more or used better bombs or more bombs or, more whatever, theoretically we could have opened it if we really wanted to, but, now we're content to just go around Africa. So it's fine. We didn't need the Suez Canal at all. So we're going to test that theory right here, right now in Iran. The Strait of Hormuz is critically important. We cannot allow it to be closed. It needs to open. And so far, our track record is we did not open a previous waterway that was denied to us by a much weaker adversary, the Houthis. So what is my perspective on all these things? I am extremely nervous about all of these developments, in case that wasn't apparent. The market is taking it in stride. I don't think the market, sort of is grasping the totality of everything that's happening here. Do we need to panic or make any changes in our portfolios? No, we're commodity shifted. We've got hedges on the portfolio, right? So we've got energy and oil services and all the rest of that. So we're going to be very protected in this, development one way or the other. But I sort of worry about everything that happens after this. So this is an extremely high stakes game of poker that we're playing here. I hope it resolves to the positive. Donald Trump has signified numerous times that he would like an off-ramp. There's just one problem. They killed everyone that could, take an off-ramp. So this thing, to my eyes, looks like it's poorly thought out, poorly executed, and it's already going pear-shaped. I hope they find a solution soon. I hope someone in Iran takes an off-ramp. I hope Donald Trump offers an off-ramp, and I hope traffic starts moving through the strait. So there you go. We're already starting to see market disruptions. This is today, Wednesday, when I'm recording this. It's Black Wednesday in Asia. Basically, the economies that rely on oil imports, which is Europe and Asia, are being walloped by this. Natural gas in Europe went up 50% yesterday, and I think it's up another 25% today. That is enough to shut down economic activity, shut down industrial activity. Korea, Japan, all these areas, we're already sending LNG to Europe to keep them going. Do we have enough LNG to keep Asia and Europe up on this at the same time while the Strait of Hormuz is blocked? I don't know. I don't think we do. So I'm not surprised that these Asian economies are getting eviscerated at this moment, and it will likely continue. So what's going to happen is every single day that the Strait of Hormuz remains closed, these effects are going to get bigger and more painful. Now, here in the US, we're okay because we produce all of our energy. We actually export energy. So we're in good stead. But oil is fungible. There is one price for oil. So if the entire oil complex moves higher because 20% of all the oil in the world is stuck off the coast of Iran, you will feel it in American power bills, nat gas. We will feel it at the pump, gasoline. So there's a lot of negative economic impacts that can come from this geopolitical event. This is the complete opposite of what you heard from me in Venezuela. In Venezuela, I was like, hey, this looks great. We took the guy out. The government's under control. There's no economic damage. It looks like a win. Trump should just ride this into the midterm. I think Venezuela came too early, so he rolled the dice on Iran, and this does not look anything like Venezuela. This is much more dangerous, and I would prefer if we didn't do this. So, key takeaways, what does it all mean? Well, the US and Israel are currently embroiled in a conflict with Iran. Predictably, Iran has shut the Strait of Hormuz, and the world is now on the clock. So we will start to feel effects of the Strait of Hormuz being closed 5 days from now. And then after that, after 5 weeks, the entire world will be very acutely aware of how important the Strait of Hormuz is if it doesn't reopen. Market disruptions are already being felt in energy import economies. For the most part, the market is treating this situation as if it's going to resolve quickly. I hope it does. I hope Trump and Iran take an off-ramp. That is exactly what we need. This is an unwelcome but true test of my prosperity guardian theory, and at least from what I am seeing, can drones suppress waterways? Yes. Does the presence of overwhelming firepower from the US Navy and the US Air Force reopen waterways? No. And that's where we are right now. So I think, maybe there will be the ideal situation is a diplomatic end to the hostilities. I hope we get that. If we don't get that, we're going to do an completely epic biblical bombing campaign. I don't have good feelings about the prospects of success at that. And we'll see where it goes from there. But in general, our portfolios are insulated from this. The stock market absolutely will start to feel these things, but we still got some time left on the clock. So, yeah, Trump, figure it out. There you go. Take care. I'll see you next week for the news review. Bye. Okay, friends, that was the video. Hope you liked it. If you found it informative, good, entertaining, I'd love if you could scroll down here beneath the video and give me a like there. It helps us out with the algorithm. And then if you want to be notified first of anything new that we upload to the channel, if you come over here, click subscribe, you'll be the first to know as soon as we upload anything. Appreciate it. See you soon.